TV, Channel 4, New Orleans. This is Louisiana's news leader. Channel 4's Eyewitness News.
For decades, Louisiana has led the nation in environmental concerns.
There's a desperate battle to save our fragile coastline, as well as the fight to clean up the air and water. As we enter the new century, there is a major question. Will we be able to offer our children a safer, cleaner environment? Dave McNamara has more in this special report.
South Louisiana enters the new millennium struggling for its very survival. Every day, the Gulf is inching closer to our homes. It's a destructive trend the experts were warning about 10 years ago.
By the year 2000, coastal collapse will be rampant. We'll be watching the death of the coast the way you watch the death of your mother from cancer.
A year ago, Hurricane George shows us how vulnerable we are and how fragile our protection is from barrier islands.
I don't believe this. The whole island is gone. This island was 5 miles. It's gone.
Off the eastern tip of Louisiana, George shreds the Chandeleur Islands into 100 smaller pieces. And the wetlands, which also slow a storm surge, are being lost at an alarming rate. In the early 1980s, coastal Louisiana was disappearing at a rate of 60 square miles a year. 10 years ago, the annual land loss was about 40 square miles. Well, today, the hemorrhaging has slowed even more. But the patient, the land we live on, is still on the critical list. One of the reasons the land loss is slowing is that the most fragile land, the part that's the easiest to wash away, is already gone. And we are seeing results from several diversion projects that pump fresh water with its land-building sediment from the Mississippi River into coastal marshes. In some small parts of Plaquemines Parish, dying cypress trees are being replaced by the lush greenery of new land. Another larger diversion program called Davis Pond is nearing completion upriver from New Orleans. It will pump fresh water and sediment into the Barataria Basin. But these projects are not enough to stop the land loss.
If everything we have authorized to date works, we'll basically have prevented less than 20% of projected land loss over the next 50 years.
That still leaves 80% of the problem. You can see what that means in these land loss projections from LSU. This is Louisiana in 1993. But watch what happens 50 years from now. The red shows where land is replaced by water. And the loss continues through the next century. By the year 2090, we've added 834 square miles of water. The amount of land we lose is nearly twice the size of Jefferson Parish.
10 years ago, coastal wetlands restoration was viewed largely as an environmental problem. Today, I think it's increasingly recognized as a community survival issue.
There are other environmental issues that Louisiana residents are dealing with on a smaller scale.
If you don't even have a high school diploma, tell me how in the world are you going to get good jobs in a high-tech plant?
The last decade has seen residents, often from small communities, take on industry giants. In St. James Parish, protesters stopped Shintech from building a plastics plant in their backyard. The people of Grand Bois in Lafourche Parish are forcing the state to closely monitor what's being dumped in the open pits of an oil field waste facility. And in Morgan City, residents have gone to court to block a hazardous waste incinerator from reopening. The image of the environmental activist is changing.
Now we're from all walks of life. We're plant workers, we're moms and grandmas and people in communities who really care about it.
After industries were forced to reveal their toxic releases a decade ago, the pressure has been on industry to clean up.
In my studies, what I found is that states with good environments, that is low pollution, have better economies.
Dr. Paul Tompley is professor of environmental studies at LSU. He was also head of the state's Department of Environmental Quality from 1988 through 92. He's concerned about the amount of toxins that Louisiana industries are putting in the environment compared with the number of jobs those industries create.
Here's the U.S. average at 92 pounds per job. Here's Louisiana at 981 pounds per job. So we're 10 times the U.S. average.
Louisiana's toxic releases have plummeted over the past decade. In 1987, nearly 700 million pounds of toxins went into the state's air, water, and land. In 1997, the releases were less than 200 million pounds. But the drop in toxic releases bottomed out in 1994, and since then have shown a slight rise.
And the reason that it's rising, I believe, is because we're not enforcing the environmental laws.
And Tomplay offers this as proof. In 1989, state environmental regulators fined industry more than $8 million. In 1997, fines were 1/10 of that, at $700,000, although the number of enforcement actions has increased by 10%.
And if you aren't penalized, if you only get a slap on the wrist because you violated the law, why not continue violating the law?
But the head of the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality argues that companies are cooperating without heavy fines.
If I can get something stopped while I'm on a site during an inspection, or within a day or two after that, by a cooperative effort, as opposed to automatically going to loggerheads and button heads in a court and see who's got the strongest lawyer, I'm going to take the solution that solves the problem first.
As we enter the new millennium, Louisiana's style of environmental regulation may shift with its politics. But tomorrow's industries and state leaders will have to contend with a public that has more information at its fingertips. Citizens who are willing to wage a public fight when they feel their health is threatened. Dave McNamara, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.